Hello friends, this is Sudhanshu and welcome back to my channel Automation with Ease. So in today's session, we are going to discuss about all these things that I've written over here in my agenda, which covers mostly the BDD, Cucumber, Maven project object model, and like the further implementation that we will see while we are going to create our framework. We are going to cover all these things and many other things which falls in this discussion when we are picking all these topics individually as well. So firstly, I'd like to discuss like what is the need of these things, because if you have heard about BDD is basically the behavior driven development. This is the widely used, you can say, the way of implementation in automation realm. So, yeah, I have written few things like in my own language, so it's easy to understand. So why BDD is basically when we are talking about BDD, then Cucumber comes itself, because Cucumber provides you the platform via which we can implement the BDD. So BDD, you can say behavior driven development is this terminology refers to the thing when we also talk about the business driven development. Basically what happens, uh, as you know that agile is the everywhere in software industry, in IT, we are every all the projects are, all the requirements are agile oriented. So whenever the business requirements comes in, they comes in the form of user stories, if you know about the agile. Yeah. So nowadays what is happening is, even in the user stories, the way of writing down the requirements, this comes in the format of, if you know about this, it's called as Gherkin format, given when then. So whatever the requirements, let's the business requirements that are coming in, so it is being written in the format of given when then, so that it's easier to understand. And from the business, for the business stakeholders as well, for the product owners and for the others, whoever wants to understand what is the need of this requirement, right, from the business perspective as well as from the implementation perspective. So what happens in BDD, what we do, the Cucumber provides you the feature wherein you can write down, you can directly convert these business requirements into the simple English language. You can write down the requirements, and then you can have the implementation behind each of those, you can say, the steps. Okay. So we will see while we are creating this in our framework that how we write it down and how we covers the business requirement and how we implement it into our like in our automation scripts. Okay. So yeah, I think we have already discussed like it's mostly used nowadays. Kaken format we are going to discuss for now. We can basically understand this, whenever the requirement comes in, it comes in the format of given when then, which I'll write down and show you like how we can correlate things in terms of the business requirement and versus what we are writing in our actual scripts for implementing. So from the framework perspective also, when we talk about the project object model also, we these all these things coexist. So let's say whenever my requirement comes in, I'll write it down in form of, I describe the behavior, write it down in the feature file. Then I will generate a glue code, which we are going to see very soon. So and then I write down it in the step definition file, and then comes the step where we are actually writing down the code, the actual implementation, which is going to perform the actions for in your application and test it. Okay. And then we rectify it, we rewrite the code, pass and fail, and further enhancing bit we are going to do. Okay, so that's all it's discussed in BDD. This is nothing, just other uh, stuff that I found over the internet. So yeah, nothing to discuss. This is something I've created my own, like how we can define a framework, the BDD framework, you say. Okay, so further, these are some imperative parts that we are going to build in our framework. So let's say first thing is feature file, where we are going to write uh, a Cucumber feature file. We are going to write our business requirements. Then step definition will contain the glue code, which will be generated via Cucumber, and we can directly, put it in a class and create. So it's basically, you can say, step definition is nothing but a class wherein it has a method. Whatever the glue code that is generated, we all for all those features, steps within a feature file, we will have the glue code. Okay, we'll see it soon though. I'm talking this because in whenever you're going out, and this is being discussed like in interviews also, people ask that what is feature file, what is the step definition. So that is why I'm just discussing for the theory part, that you should know uh, on a high level also, like what it is. Then we are going to have the page and actions, where we are actually uh, sequencing our automation scripts. And then we will have locators, wherein we will have our locators for the elements, and so that is why I'm saying that we have distributed, so that we can simplify our projects and reuse again and again whatever we have written once. So if you remember from my earlier sessions, that we have converted all the hard-coded things into the simple methods, so that we can reuse it. The same thing we are going to do here as well. So driver factories, you can say we can skip it for now. Basically, yeah, simply escape it for now. Concentrate on the page factory. Page factory is something where we will write down the reusable methods. Okay, so let's jump on to the actual implementation. I have created it, but I'm going to create it from scratch now. So just close it. For so if, from my first session, as I told you, like the version of Eclipse, what to install, which I have currently. So if you have the same one, you can, you will have this Maven project inbuilt kind of thing. So you can directly, you don't have to additionally install the plugin or install the Maven. Additionally, you will already have this Maven in your system. Okay, so just next, you're going to create a simple project here. Next, so let's give it some meaningful name. So as I told you, the site that we are going to use today for our automation is this demo QA. Okay, you can also log in, and there are few good this is a good platform website where you can automate things. So I'm going to use this. So just let's see if I provide the name com.demoqa.com. It can be same. Okay, just for the naming purpose. Sorry, my bad. Okay, let's finish it. So this is the one that we have now. So if you can say, it will automatically provides you all these folders by default. So because in today's topic we are not going to execute it via the like as a Maven project, we are going to run it as a Cucumber feature. Okay, so you will understand soon, like by the end of this video, what all things I'm talking now. So for time being, simply just follow the steps that I am following here, and I'll try to explain you in simple way, like why all these things are required. So this is pom.xml. Whenever you create a Maven project, it will, it will be there, the pom.xml. So why it is required, this is basically, you can say, the via this only, when we are actually executing the Maven project. So this is via which the whole project is getting executed. For time being, what all we need is, we need to add the dependencies. What are the dependencies? Dependencies means, if you remember that when we are creating the Selenium project, as a Java project, I mean the Selenium scripts, we required jars additionally, right? And we added those jars from build path, and as external jars, sort of thing. So here what we can do, instead of doing that thing, we can simply mention all our dependencies, okay, into the pom.xml, and then Maven will automatically download it for you and keep it, so that you don't have to additionally add the jars. It's already there in your project, and you can implement things, and you won't have uh, to add it additionally. Okay, just make sure that there are no errors. I can see one dependency. Okay, I think dependencies tag I have dependencies. Okay, you just have to put, I'll share this pom.xml with you, so that you can just copy paste and use it. Okay, dependencies. Now control save it, and just see that this is start building the workspace. Basically it's started downloading all the dependencies that we have mentioned here. Okay, so this must have downloaded now. Let's close this for now, and I'll provide you the pom.xml that I'm using here. Okay, now let's focus. So basically this is where, for time being, just for better understanding, okay, we can further use each of these folders when we are enhancing our framework, but for time being I'm just going to use this one over here. So what is that we required? The first thing is the feature file, Cucumber feature file, if you recall from here. So this is our starting point. Feature file is what we need. So for feature file, just not create a package, let's create a folder, call as features. Okay, finish it. So one more thing I'd like to tell you, actually, see, to use Cucumber in your project, you just have to download the plugin of Cucumber, which you can get from Eclipse Marketplace. Okay, so just go to help in Eclipse, navigate here, Eclipse Marketplace. Okay, and you can search Cucumber. Okay, so Cucumber Eclipse plugin, you can download this, or natural is, I think it's, this is also a plugin. I have this one though, so you can install natural instead. Okay, instead of down, this is also installed. No, sorry, my bad. Earlier I installed this. Okay, you can install this one actually, Cucumber Eclipse plugin. Okay, I already have it installed. That is why it is saying it's installed. Okay. Oh, I have clicked on this. Okay, so as soon as you have the Cucumber plugin installed, you can start writing the feature file. What is feature file? Why it is required? I'll show you. So let's say what we want to do today is, let's say our test contains, we are going to open this website. Okay, I'm going to put first name, last name here. Okay, and then I'm going to click on submit button here. Okay, so let's say if this comes as a requirement, let's say if you want to automate it, so the steps would be that you are going to open this site, you are going to put first name and last name, and then you're going to click on submit button here. Okay, so let's write it down, just create a feature file for this. What we can say, feature tools QA dot, see, this is important, that you have to provide the extension as feature feature. Okay, so this is the extension required. It will automatically consider it as a Cucumber feature file. So whatever you're writing here, that's fine, it's up to your requirement, but as soon as you give this file extension as dot feature, it will consider it as a Cucumber feature file. See, automatically it provides you this default, you can say this format wherein you can reuse it. So tagging and all we will discuss maybe later. Right now, just you can keep the important things. Okay, this is scenario outline, this is scenario. Further we can discuss in later sessions. For time being, this is all we can have. Okay, let's say my feature is tools QA automation. Okay, my scenario is, what is my scenario? Automating a simple, not this, anything, form submission. Okay, now see, it has provided you given and when and then and all these things you can have, and you can write down. So this is called as the Gherkin format. Okay, and you can write down your requirement in this format, which is a simple English language, right? As I told you earlier, like you can have your requirement directly into the simple English language, and so that the product owner and business stakeholders, just by looking at your report or your feature file, they would understand, okay, you have covered the business requirements. Okay, and then you can further on do the implementation on back of the script for each of these steps. So let's say what I want to do, given I want to open website tools QA. Okay, please, I would suggest that you don't use special character here, because each of those special character might have their own significance within a feature file. So try to make it as simple as possible without using the special character or alphanumeric character, I would say here. So my bad, sorry, not alphanumeric, I mean to say the special character. Okay, so I want to open website tools QA, and what I want to put the first name and last name, and I want to send, first name. You can have another end here, and this will all be caps, the initials. Okay, so this must be caps, and then it will treat it as it will consider it in a check-in format. Okay, I want to send first name, I want to send last name. Okay, and when I click on submit button, then what happens? Sorry, let's say cell, whatever, and I click on submit button, then what happens? All these errors are coming. Okay, so let's just take only 3 steps, then condition we can probably implement further, like because it comes to assertion, and if we are going to discuss the session, then it will take some more time, which I might cover in in further enhancement of this. Okay, so let's remove this. Simply say that given when, and I use first name, given, let's say I say when I want to send first name and I want to send last name. You can have then over here. It doesn't make sense from a business perspective, but let's just just consider that this is all is my requirement as of now. Okay, now what happens if I have the POM like correctly did the build form. If I simply click on Cucumber feature, run as a Cucumber feature, okay, it will give you an option to run it as a Cucumber feature. As soon as you run it, it will give you the glue code. This is called as the glue code, okay, that you can implement missing steps with the snippets below. This is what you need to implement. We have not implemented it yet. Okay, so let's quickly create the all of the packages that we are going to use: step definition, page action, locators, page factory, everything. Okay, so let's create it now. First thing after this is step definitions. Step definitions, and I need the package as step definition, page actions, and I need element locators. Okay, what else I need is page factory, right? Yeah, page factory. So we have now all these packages. Okay, now where we want to put this code. See, basically, as I told you that right now we are running it as a Cucumber feature, but there is another thing. We can run it as a Cucumber runner class as well, which I'll cover maybe later. But yeah, so what happens that the way you're writing these things matters when you're running it as a Cucumber runner class. Okay, for time being, just make sure that all you have all these packages, and the sequence how we are putting things together should it should be followed. Okay, so we have a feature file, we have a feature written within a feature file. Now we have generated this glue code. Where should we put it? So this should comes in the step definition. So step definition contains the glue code of your feature. Okay, so I'll create a class step def. Okay, step def for tools QA. Okay, just follow the same trend across. What is feature tools QA, right? So step def tools QA. Just okay, let's not take the meaning here. Okay, so we have this class created. Okay, what we can do now, this glue code is simply, as soon as we paste this over here, now you can remove all these things. This basically asks to given when this have to remove, this we have to remove, save it. Still we have error. Why? I'll show you. So import given, see why it's allowing you to import, because we have mentioned all these dependencies in our POM.xml. okay, so now we have this feature to import. So I'll give you the POM.xml. That is why I'm saying just have to copy and paste the dependencies and save it, so it will build and download all the required dependencies. See, the error is gone now. Okay, now what happens is this feature file will basically find this step definition automatically, and it's going to run it. Okay, as soon as, because what it does is within a project, if you have this written, okay, and it will basically go and find this thing that where within this project I have the matching glue code. It simply picks this matching code and run whatever you have written here. So for time being, let's say, just for example, if we are writing, if I'm writing something, let's say I am given, okay, just this one, let's say, and if I'm going to run this now, so basically this yellow uh, highlighted portion is basically asking you to implement this that I'm yet not implemented. Okay, given I have already implemented, if you see, not even given, we have implemented everything. If you see, although they don't have body or implementation, but we have the glue code generated. So basically, unless we don't have glue code, it will throw this error. It's still showing because we have not refreshed it. So even I mean, just not refresh, just close it and open it once again, and you'll see that the highlighted part is gone. Okay, because we have implemented this, we have the match and glue code for this. Run as Cucumber feature. What we are going to get in the output, observe that it is saying I am given, which means the given part executed. For rest 3, it's executed, but there is nothing mentioned over there, right? So it is basically saying 4 steps passed, 1 scenario is passed. This is the scenario, okay, and there are 4 steps in this scenario which is passed now. Okay, now let's jump on to the other things. Like, we are now actually going to implement our automation uh, in form of, you can say, the project object model. Okay, so basically, uh, if you think that what all things this particular session is covering is, it covers your BDD, Cucumber, uh, you know, Cucumber itself has so many things, like what is feature, what all things you have in a feature file. So you have feature, you have scenario, you have Gherkin format, then in the step definition you have glue code. Okay, and when it comes to project object model, you have a page actions, page factory, you have actions, and everything. This comes in the project object model. You have pom.xml. Why we mention dependencies in pom.xmls? Not just dependencies, there are other things that you can do, and further there are so many things around this, but we will eventually cover those things. Okay, for time being, let's just implement this uh, uh, for automation. Okay, so what was our objective is to perform these actions. See, in a Java script it's very simple, but it's not the correct way of doing the implementation when it comes to automation framework. So this is something we can call it as a framework. So let's I'll tell you what all, how the flow goes is, you have feature file, now we have a step definition, now we should have a page action. Page action is something which defines the sequence. So let's say for each of these things, if you have the page actions, okay, so you can define another action here. In the page actions, we can create an action class. Okay, action tools QA. State. Okay, I don't think it's required, but yeah, remove the main method. What else we have is, we have locators. So element locators, this also requires a class where we are going to put our locators. Element locators for tools QA. Okay, then we have page factory. Page factory is another class. Page factory, I mean, this page factory is something, it's it should not be for just for tools QA. You can say it should be across, because we are going to write down the reusable methods in page factory. Okay, so page factory is something not stick to a particular you can say it shouldn't be a single class for each project or for each requirement or for each script, but it should be unique so that you can reuse this across. For, let's say, if you are doing another test suite, okay, so you can reuse this page factory methods in your automation. Okay, so I'll create it, the page factory. What all methods the page factory should have, that we are going to cover. Okay, so how far we have gone? We have generated the glue code. Let me close the console first. Okay, now, so action, and given I want to open the website tools QA, so we will you can say, from, rather than from bottom to top, we can go either ways actually, one by one. From this, you can say, is from, top to bottom. Okay, approach, like we have generated this, we have generated the glue code. We can go and write the action class, locators we can put, and then we can write the page factory, or instead we can backtrack things from here as well. Okay, so let's do it from this way. So feature file I have already created, step definition I have already created. Okay, now the action I want to perform, but for this I need to have the actual implemented methods. Now how can I have those things? So let's say if I want to open up a browser, driver dot get, okay, and what driver, anyways, sorry, my bad. So if you remember from my earlier sessions, this show you actually. Okay, so here what we have done is we created the separate methods, right, for open a browser, send values, okay, click method, close. So let's just copy it from our previous thing and go to the page factory. Page factory will have the reusable methods. Let's put all these things over here. It's not recognizing driver because, so for this you'll have to watch my first video. Was it in the first video, second, can't recall. You can have a look at those videos. Okay, so simply now all these methods we have taken here. Okay, fine. Now close this element, locators required, action, and this. See, from here also I can directly, I should be able to call this. Let's say if I want to open up a browser, okay, which class is this? Page factory class, and method is open browser. So if I write down page, if I just write this bit and click control space page factory, okay, this one, page factory. Oh, it has taken the default one, is it? Yeah, we don't want default one actually. We want the one that we have right in, because Selenium also provides a page factory. So we don't want to take the default one. We want to use this one, page factory dot. The method is open browser. Okay. Basically, we want to pass the URL here. Let's say I want to pass down this URL. Okay. We are passing it as a string because that method consume the argument as a string URL. It will go pass down, open the browser, maximize the screen. Okay, open the browser, and I want to send the first name. So from page factory itself, what we can do is send value, we can use send value here. So again, page factory, let's write it down instead, dot send value. Now what all matching arguments it requires? It requires value and locator. Okay, so both actually we are passing here as, so let's say we have created another package as well as class for our locators. Okay, so what if I simply want all my locators to be exist here, so that I can reuse that as well, instead of just hard coding it in the method that it is going to be the XPath only. I can just pass my my element, whether it could be XPath or ID or anything. I'll simply define these things in my which one was that element locator, this here. Okay, so let's say if I am doing public static void, you can say by public static by first name. Okay, first name is equals to by dot, the return type will not be there as void, by it will, you can import this by dot XPath. Okay, and the XPath expression will require here, so you can put your XPath over here. So my XPath is going to be, let's inspect this again. Okay, go to the grow path, relative XPath, so it is giving you the XPath. Okay, so let's just get this XPath and put it over here. So this is XPath for our first name. Something. Okay, fine. Let's find this one here. Inspect this one. Last name. Last name. Okay. Last name. What else we require? First name, last name, and the button. This one. Submit button. Okay. Submit button. Submit button. Okay, just give some meaningful names so that you also understand when you're using it in your actions or maybe in the step definition directly. So right now maybe we can jump onto the action class later, but just we're trying this itself in our step definition file itself, like the whole execution. Okay, so if you just press Control and over the mouse over here, it will take you to this. Okay, so this code basically expect toString. Okay, but what is happening here, we have already defined this XPath in our element class. Okay, because what we're gonna do is we're gonna pass two arguments to this method, one of type value, the string that we want to you know, passing on to this locator. This locator, let's say, is our first name and last name. Okay. So what I want here is I want these arguments to be this should be string, because this is some string I'm going to send, but this is going to be of type by. Okay. Why by? Because this, you can say, is what we required. So what we can do instead, just by removing this, we can send the type of variable as by. See, the error is gone. Okay, now what we are doing basically is we are sending one as a string and one as a by here. Okay, so this is string, this should be string, and this should be your by. Okay, so it's not able to understand because we have not yet changed it to the type of variable y, which is this, right? This is of type by. So simply copy this. What is the class name? This is the class name. Okay, so take the class name instead. This locator will be this dot first name. Okay, now it's taking it correctly. What we want to send, let's say I want to send this to the first name. You can copy the same thing, and last name, just change this to last name, right? Now what is next is the submit button. Okay, so I want to click on to submit button. Again, go to the page factory. Which method we can use is this one. It only accepts the type as by, but right now it is a string, so we are going to again change it to the type by and remove this. Okay, this is fine now because we are already mentioning this as a by over here, by submit button, which is again in the same class. Okay, so take this dot submit button, and it requires the argument of type by, sorry, here, the argument of type by, which is, go to the locator, submit button, again this class dot submit button, right? Now why this is throwing error, create method submit button. Okay, this is click method, not submit button, my bad. So yes, this is what we need. I got a bit, okay, that's fine now. Okay, so element locator class, first name, then last name, and then click on the submit button. So this all should happen, as soon as we run it as a Cucumber feature itself. So if you see that our framework is now created, because what we are doing is page factory is something where we have reusable methods. Just by sending the arguments we can reuse it. This element locator is the class where you are putting all your variables, right? Action class is something, park it for now. I'll cover it in the next session. Okay, basically why action is required. Let's say you have a lot of test cases. Okay, so this is just a simple one. We can make given or maybe given when as our standard feature steps, wherein we always put like given where we are going to open some URL and when we are going to log in something. Okay, something like that. I mean, if you think that your application always requires these two things, so we can standardize this, and then further on in further steps we can write our whole part of like whole steps as a part of our test case. Okay, and what we can reuse this again and again, right? Even whatever you have written in this code, let's say if you want to use any of these steps in your other test cases, so you simply have to create another scenario, something like that. I'll show you. So let's say I'll scenario one, maybe this is scenario for submission second run. Okay, so what it is going to do, it is going to perform the same thing twice. Okay, here you can, let's say your two steps are fixed, but you have to perform some other operations, like you have to, let's say you want to put some other fields as a part of your next test case, you want to assert these errors. Okay, you want to further navigate or click onto some other buttons. Okay, so something like that. So basically these two you can reuse, and further if you think that this can be reusable anyways, you can reuse it. And so basically all you need to do is you can reuse this method again and again. You just have to change the locator and the value, which means this, even this is now standard format of you can say passing the argument from this step definition file. You simply have to follow this. Now we can uh, you know combine such things. Let's say this is anyways going to my first step, second step, the third step. So instead of writing three steps, we can do it in a single step. We just have to create one method here, we will create one more method here, and we will put all these steps in the action files, which anyways I'm going to cover in next session. So let's run this. Let's see how it works, or we have some errors and how we can debug it, which I'm not hoping anyone would be, but let's hope it will simply run. Okay, so errors are there. Close QA from submission. An illegal reflective access operation has occurred. Why? To field Java util tree map comparator, an illegal access operation will be denied in a future release. Something must be wrong here. Okay, let's remove this for now, and just highlight this, press F3, it will navigate you to the code. Okay, given we are opening this browser, I want to open this browser, whether this class is perfectly fine here or we missed out on something. I think we have missed something in here. If you can recall that we have to mention the system, we have to set the system property. So I'm missing on this step. So if you can see my very first video from Selenium Basics, you will understand why it is required. So if I simply mention this over here, save this, let's run it again. Looks like it's working now. It has opened up the browser, URL, maximized, found, right. So it has done everything that we have asked. It has clicked on submit button, that is why it is throwing all these errors. But we haven't mentioned to close it, right? So let's use the close as well here. So click on submit button, then I close then I exit the, maybe better than I terminate the execution. Okay, not yet. Okay, let's run it. It will give you the glue code. Because there is an error, it will not do the proper execution. Instead, it will ask you first to implement the unimplemented one. I believe so. Oh, it's running. Okay, so whatever part basically is correct, it will run it, and then at the end it will throw the error stating that this part is not yet implemented. See, you can see this thing we have given in our output console, so it's printing that as well, if you can recall from my first session. So this is something we haven't implemented. Okay, so we are going to implement this as well. Let's close this out and sorry, go to step definition, put this over here. What I want to do is I want to close my browser, so simply call close here. That's it, which is this class page factory dot close. That's all, right? So it should be doing everything now. As I told you, let's close this and open once again so that the error will be gone. It's gone now. You can run it as a Cucumber feature. Okay, let's wait, let it close. Done. So now, as you can see that the first scenario is passed. The 5 steps that we have mentioned in this feature file are all passed. Okay, so this is just the basic you can say the execution report on the console itself. Okay, but there are beautiful features that Cucumber itself provide, and further on there are some extensions, and further we have TestNG as well. So all these things we can use to enhance our overall experience, in terms of the reporting and other execution stuff like parallel execution and reporting, yeah, things like that. So I think we'll stick to this for this particular session, and maybe in my next session I'm going to enhance this further, where I'll try to put things in the action class, and let's see, we are going to create the Cucumber runner as well. So basically this, so we are going to, instead of running it as a Cucumber feature, we are going to run it as a Cucumber runner class in our next session, which I'm going to cover. Yeah, so yeah friends, I think that's it for this session. And if you liked my video, so you can share it, you can subscribe, and also press on the bell icon, as I have said in my earlier session, so you will get notification whenever I'm going to put the new video. So very soon I'm going to put the part 2 of this Cucumber, and do post your suggestions, what else I should have covered in this video, and maybe I'll try to cover in my next sessions. So thanks for watching. See you in next session. Bye.